So that's the way things begin. One little diptych, which is part of the larger 4-day sequence of 2 diptychs. The second one, the second diptych, begins on day 3 when the first disciples come along. And the affirmation that Jesus is the Lamb of God is repeated. Anytime there's a repetition, pay attention, because John is calling our attention to something. And he likes us to think about what it means to call Jesus the Lamb, I think. In any case, 2 disciples come along, Andrew, the brother of Peter, and someone who is anonymous. And I've made the point before that the anonymity that pervades these scenes probably is contributing to the way in which the character of the beloved disciple functions, because you have to come back and say, well, could it be someone in this scene? Yeah, it could be the anonymous one, but who is he? We can't tell because he's anonymous. In any case, in this first encounter, Peter gets a name, Cephas, which is translated Peter. What name is he getting? Is it the Aramaic name Cephas, or does he already have that and he's getting the name Peter? Or does he already have the Greek name Peter and he's getting the name Cephas? Or he doesn't have either one and Jesus is giving him both, an Aramaic and Greek. All of those ways of construing this naming have been suggested by one scholar or another. But the key point is that the first disciple, one of the first disciples of Jesus, gets this name, Rock or Rocky. And I think we'll find as the gospel progresses and as we see Peter doing his well-known deeds, that he's more at the rocky end of things. And John is aware of that. And that's one of the things that John has to resolve when we get to the epilogue in John 21. In this encounter with the first disciples, there's also a bit of a dialogue. And the dialogue throws out a number of terms repeated. And when you see repetition, pay attention, because the terms might have some significance, and this term does, certainly in the 4th gospel. The disciples ask, where, Jesus, are you staying? Using a Greek word, meno. And Jesus says, well, come and see. The curiosity can be productive. The disciples come along and they saw where Jesus was staying. Have you got my word yet? And they stayed with him. So there's an attention being called to this word of staying or abiding. Here it seems to have a simple physical sense, where he is spending the night. But this is going to have a rather deep theological sense when we come to the Last Supper discourses and the farewell discourse of Jesus. And one of the things that he's saying that he's doing is providing a place where people can abide. And their abiding involves the abiding in them of the Spirit that abides in him. So that's going to become a very important theological word. And the preparation is laid for it here in the encounter with the first disciples. Day 4, the second half of the second diptych, involves Philip bringing Nathanael along and doing so in the same way that Jesus had brought the disciples along in the previous episode by telling him to come and see. We get here, I think, our first flash of irony in 2 verses. First of all, when Nathanael says, what the heck good can come from Nazareth? Nothing good comes from there, does it? We, of course, know that, something very good is coming from Nazareth. And Jesus, who says, oh, this Nathanael is someone, an Israelite in whom there is no guile. Is he, in fact, being a little mocking there? Is there irony in his approach to Nathanael? Probably so. And sometimes we ignore that. Jesus, in any case, shows some special knowledge. He's seen Nathanael before and sort of knows who he is even before the encounter with him here. And that leads Nathanael to respond with his confession. That response to the knowledge that Jesus has is going to be something that we'll see in other cases too, particularly with the Samaritan woman. So Jesus knows what is in humankind. That point is scored a little later on in chapter 2:25. No one needs to tell him what's there. And that knowledge is something that can elicit a response. And it does so with Nathaniel. And I think the gospel is trying to suggest, well, maybe it should with the reader too. How is that response going to be evoked? Jesus finally says to Nathaniel, after Nathaniel's confession, just wait, and you'll see angels ascending and descending on the Son of Man. So there'll be some sort of visionary or epoptic, as I like to call it, experience where heavenly truth is revealed or some sort of revelation takes place, and you will see it.